Hey guys, it's Adam from LUCIDPIXUL, and today I bring you a lovely little treat, a very nostalgic game to me, and that is the Art of Diablo 3. Now one might ask the question, why the hell are you reviewing Diablo 3 when they've already announced Diablo 4? The reason being is, there's a lot to learn in this beautiful little book. It's a very telling story of design and progression. I came into Diablo back during Diablo 2 with the original necromancers and all that kind of stuff, and was completely spellbound by that game. There was something about the ambiance and the vibe of that game that just kept sucking me in all the time. I absolutely loved it. And Diablo 3 was no exception to that. Now, a lot of people scrutinize, if you've ever played D3 and you're a very big Blizzard gamer and stuff like that, you might have a very strong opinion with regards to the game and the gameplay and the design vibe and all that, but none can argue how gorgeous this game is. And this book is a real testament to the beauty and the talent of the artist that went behind producing this game. More importantly, if you followed the news, unless you've been living under a rock, confided you're a gamer of course, then you're very well aware of the announcement and the announcement trailer for Diablo 4, which there's a lot of gameplay footage. I've been watching a little bit of Fighting Cowboy stuff. I watch him all the time. And just to kind of get an idea without spoiling it too much, I've only watched a little bit of it, but you can see that they've made a very deliberate point of taking what they've learned from Diablo 3, and integrating that into Diablo 4, but bringing back a lot of Diablo 2. Bringing back a lot of that dark vibe, but they are setting a new precedent to a certain degree at Blizzard, bringing in a much darker vibe. And by darker vibe, they're literally starting to push into a different demographic of player. They've always produced very child-friendly stuff to a certain degree, and this pushes the bar quite a bit, or at least Diablo 4 does. So with that said, let's crack this open. Let me line up my book right here so we can see it. And again, as I do with every book, first impressions. And first impressions are coolness and darkness. And Blizzard do not skimp out on design. They literally set the bar as far as design is concerned. So they've got this really cool looking emblem over here to kind of put you into like demonic symbolism and stuff like that. And a nice shot of Diablo's face. And then we're brought right into splash art. I've spoken about this in the past. I have a whole video on it, which you can check out right here, where I discuss the differences between concept art, illustration, and design. And it's an old video, so I apologize for the huge drop in video quality and production quality, but it was years ago that I did this video. But a lot of artists would say, oh, I want to be a character designer. And then they would show me art like this. And they didn't quite understand the difference between character design, design in general, and concept art, meaning to come up with concepts and ideas, or splash art. Blizzard designs stuff like this. These kinds of designs are to turn you on to the game. Think of it as a piece of advertising. This is not what goes on in a studio. If you want to work in a studio, don't think that this is the kind of art that you're going to be producing all the time. You're going to be producing much more practical things, and we'll see more of that moving forward. But this is just to turn you on. It's fun to draw, have fun with it, but understand that this isn't the stuff you're going to be doing every day. Here's another thing. If this particular style of art interests you, which interests a ton of artists out there, of course, it's gorgeous art. One of the key factors, one of the things that play into it is volume, three-dimensional volume. A lot of people make the claim that Blizzard has a very animation influenced style, and that is absolutely true. And what defines animation style art is the fact that everything down to the bevels and the stitches and the scar itself, everything has a bevel and a contour to it. Everything is volumetric. I drew like this for the longest time because I came from an animation background, despite wanting to transition into realism. And I would always have people claim, as I tell my students all the time, you have an animation background, don't you, Adam? And I would get annoyed with that, and I would always ask, what do you mean? What's making you think that? And they'd go, oh, I could just tell. And I used to get really pissed off about that until I realized this was one of the main key factors that play into it. Some more splash art of Diablo. Now, when we flip into the book, this is actually interesting. Just as a piece, very different from what we're used to seeing. It shows a little bit of diversity as far as Blizzard artists are concerned. The rendering of this, the colorful approach to rendering, makes me think a lot about Frazetta's work. Look at this, and then look at a Frazetta piece close up, and you'll see how they use the same color color style with all the different color notes and varieties. I like to paint like that a lot. I'm very influenced by that side of Frazetta's work as well. Now here, we have a piece by Chris Metzen, the famous Chris Metzen, who's been around at Blizzard since day one pretty much. His drawings, as you can see here, are not the best drawings. He doesn't claim to or try to hold the title of best artist at Blizzard, but what he does have is vision. And what these drawings do is it's getting you into the vibe of certain things. He is a video game geek. He played tabletop RPGs. He's played RPGs his entire life. He's always been a gaming nerd, despite the fact that he's Mr. Hardcore with his deep voice, right? But this guy's geek, and it resonates into his artwork. This is the kind of stuff I grew up drawing and with my friends playing and stuff like that. And this resonated into what became a very signature style at Blizzard. And has really set a precedent for the artists. Confided, now they have more skilled, advanced concept artists that take these ideas and flesh them out into something a little bit more substantial. Some other gorgeous splash art. I love this stuff. I love these beautiful, I love the golden rim light that they have in the back. If and when you ever get this book, which I highly recommend you do, because it's absolutely beautiful, take a moment to notice this little glossary over here of names. And one of the things you're going to notice is Barbarian Crest, this Barbarian Crest, Diablo 3, Trent Kanyuga. Trent Kanyuga. Be still my heart. I'm a big fan of Trent, so of course, as most of you probably are too. And I just seeing the name made me say, money well spent, Adam. I'm glad I bought the book. Now, one of the other things I love about this is that we have that they allow the artists at Blizzard to put big fat signatures on their artwork. They don't hide. It's not a Blizzard piece. This art is from that artist, and they give full credit to the artist as well, as you can see here. And Wei Meng's art is this. Now I'm going to stop a moment, and I want to point attention at this barbarian. You look at him, and the moment you look at him, you think, and you should think and feel, power, brutality, masculinity, weight, right? Boof! He's a big, heavy warrior, and bam! And when he does like his earthquake attacks, like the whole ground shakes and shit. He's a real badass, and he one swing and he just wipes out a whole crew of people. But you're probably looking at his muscles and his pose. Look at this. Look at all of these different. Look at the cracking earth. Look at this big, bold building up in the background. Look at the size and shape. Look at the design language and all these different things. Objectively speaking, you feel a sense of brutality and power in this before you even identify with this guy's character. Remember that every part of this image plays into the role. I mentioned in my art talk last week, use every part of the buffalo. Well, from a design perspective, every part of the buffalo is every corner of your image. Don't take for granted that everything needs to play into this persona, into this vibe. Now, notice that the bold shapes also, on a subliminal level, are also making these a little bit more universally friendly designs. If you get into sharper, darker designs, think of Lilith in Diablo 4 Cinematic. If you haven't checked it out, definitely go check it out. It's pretty dark stuff. They're crossing a line, and they're making her a far more threatening, far more nightmarish type of character compared to what you see here. These bold shapes feel a little bit more nerfed as a result of it, and that plays into the design style of Blizzard, which is why they're so universally loved. Crusader. Forget about the fact that you're looking at a woman holding a cross shield. That's iconic. I get it, but pay attention to the background again. Look at the shape language. Look at the background. Golden colors. You're thinking Holy Warrior, Crusader, Templar, right? So that's the kind of vibe that they're trying to use. So they use something reminiscent of the Holy Cross on her shield, very like the crescent shield with the emblem on it. That feels very much like the cross. The mace, which is a very paladin type of weapon, very human looking character, like the human paladins in World of Warcraft, and the golden arches in the background, which make you think of a chapel, make you think of holy light, those types of things. Demon Hunter. I'm a hunter class. I've always played the ranged hunter class, World of Warcraft and Diablo. I've always played the hunter class. Maybe because I'm a bit of a wimp and I'm always hiding behind trees, pew-pewing people. But I've always been attracted to the agile, fast, sleek, assassin, ranged, focused character. It's just something I've always found was cool. And look at how the design language has changed. Now, we're going hardcore into the femme fatale type of physique. She's got the curves, sleek and slim, all of those different types of things, because they want to instill in your brain a sense of speed and agility. And even when you look at her silhouette from the front, when we flip the page, the hips, the way they're very feminine form, because they're playing into that. That fits this type of character. Put this type of physique on a barbarian, you're going to go, not so much, because we don't feel, she's not brutish, she's an assassin. Her body type is identical to Lady Sylvanas from World of Warcraft. Just check out the cinematic with Lady Sylvanas in it. You'll see exactly what I'm talking about. She's sleek and fast and sharp, and she's designed to slice you up into 1,000 different pieces. That's what you want to feel when you look at it. So look at all the blade designs throughout her entire form. Really exciting stuff. Some nice splash art. Monk. Tibetan monk warriors, martial artists, using a lot of iconography from that. Very cool. The bow staff, showing more of a martial arts approach to thing. The close ranged fast. It's kind of the agile meets close melee range fighting versus the warrior, which is brutal, heavy, weighty meets melee fighting. So there's two different ways of interpreting close melee fighting. The female monk. Now, check this out. Another very cool thing. Everybody always wants to draw the most epic, the most cool. No. If you really want to train your brain to do armor design and character design and progression design, start at the bottom. Start with the peasant in rags and slowly work your way up towards a higher and higher level. This is this is the number one thing that made World of Warcraft such a huge success. I remember one of my old asshole colleagues at EA, when I was working at EA, I had a picture of my character up on my screen, and she walks up to me and she goes, "World of Warcraft's just a fashion show." She didn't even play games. She was I think she worked for customer support or something like that. World of Warcraft's just a fashion show. And I looked at her and I said, "Yes, exactly. That's why I play. I like the fashion." I'm not hiding the fact, but she was like, "You're not a real gamer because you play for the fashion." I was like, "Yeah, screw you, whatever. You don't know what you're talking about." But look at the progression. When you start off as a little dinky little baby, and then you progress gradually up into the point where you're in molten core. Or here, when you progress through you want to feel like you're a badass. You want to be able to stand next to your buddies and go, "Hey, big guy, maybe one day if you eat your vegetables, you'll look like this." You want to be able to flex in front of your friends. This is flexing in design. Necromancer. Another gorgeous design. Not only that, but I have my heart goes out to this sweetheart over here, because he's definitely caricatured, or at least his visual design's based off of one of my personal favorite actors of all time. I think it's Bill, I know his last name's Nye, but I think it's Bill Nye, but I don't know if I'm confusing that with Bill Nye the Science Guy. But basically, the actor who played in Wrath of the Titans, he played in Underworld as one of the elder vampires, one of the master vampires. He's played in Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy as the guide. I love this actor. He's sharp, he's professional, he's engaging, he's bizarre, he's unique, he's precise. He's such a gorgeous character. And resonating that kind of character into him, into that face, that's it. That's basically this actor. I can tell right away. Even I can picture the guy's voice. He's got a very gritty, sharp sounding, kind of a decrepit corpse type of voice to him. When you create things that are more iconic, it will resonate with people a lot more. There's a recipe for success that I heard a pop singer say once. What makes a popular song? And she said, it needs two things. It needs to be unique, and it has to be familiar. If it's missing either one of those, either A, your audience will not connect to it, or B, it won't be interesting enough. It won't be a new experience. So you want a bit of both. So tapping into the old and injecting the new. Witch Doctor, one of my personal favorite characters. And it's a very good example of how acting is done with the entire body. How you can see his body's kind of like, he's got the twitch, like he's trying to fight off poison, because that plays into his kind of character design. So he's kind of like, he's walking around as if he's just ingested some poison to develop some kind of an immunity to it. Like he deliberately gets himself bitten by snakes and scorpions every day to help him to fight off the toxins. But that resonates into his posture, so he's all buckled over and skinny because his body's burning off all these calories fighting off toxins. And I personally prefer this design. When looking at this design over here, I'm thinking to myself, I kind of would have preferred this. They gave her a little bit more of a maternal, tribal type of design with the more saggy breasts, and I like that. I like that crossover breast wrap thing that she's got going on. because later on they kind of give her this kind of sexy bod type of thing, and that kind of takes away from it a little bit. I would rather feel more character, feel a little bit less show-offy. There's a bit of a loss there. Confided, gorgeous drawing. Both of these are just sexy drawings. Absolutely beautiful stuff. Wizard. I love the wizard design, but I'll be honest with you. I even felt this in World of Warcraft. It feels a little bit overworked. And the reason I'm saying that is because if you look at the witch doctor, you look at the monk, you look at the crusader, you look at the barbarian, you look at the demon hunter, they all have very pure designs. And when it came to the wizard, there's so much bedazzle on it. It feels as if it's a compensation for a lack of design focus. Not on the part of the artist. The artist is a badass. I mean, this is freaking hot stuff. But the actual design premise behind it feels like it was really, really overdeveloped, even in World of Warcraft. And I know I'm going to get a lot of hate in the chat for this, but like looking at the progression in World of Warcraft, the different tiers as years went on, it always felt as if they're kind of running out of ideas, so they just make it more and more extravagant. And that kind of resonates into this. However, there's a lot about this that I really like. I love the scrolls, and I love the different mixes of different materials, and the Asian red fabric, which I think is really cool. They kind of gave it a bit more of a kind of an Asian warrior type of thing. And that resonates into the female designs too, you're going to see when we move forward. These beautiful Asian, like the golds and the reds, give her a bit of a royal feel, which is cool. But there's just too much going on in this design. But I love the artist, so I won't pick on that too much. Deckard Cain, stay a while. Stay a while and listen. Here's something all of you need to learn. I can't stress enough how important this is. There aren't enough artists that know enough about lighting. Look at how they're studying for the cinematics. They're playing around with different lighting schemes. Art is a painting tool. It is an emotional painting tool. You paint with light. That is what you do. And the more you can learn about light, the better. It takes a lot of practice and understanding to be able to slowly piece together a lighting scheme. And that plays into this. Go and go and study photography lighting techniques. Just go and do a quick YouTube Google search for it, and you will enlighten yourself very quickly. Furthermore, if you ever get a chance to play with lights, you'll realize how hard they are to control, how to get soft diffuse lighting, how to get sharp edge lighting, how to get a nice hair light, as I was just showing you. How do you play around with these different types of things? You bring that into your artwork, and it will immediately enhance the beauty and the effectiveness and the emotional impact of your artwork. Diablo's a woman. Just need to say that. If you don't believe me, you hear Diablo's deep voice, right? But watch the way Diablo plays. Look at Diablo's hips. The way they sway back and forth, that waist to hip ratio is like, damn, right? Well, Diablo's a girl. Just saying. Just in case you didn't know. Look at that. That's even walks with a very sexy kind of curve in her back and stuff like that. Definitely look at the hips. It's definitely a very feminine bodybuilder. Probably studied a lot of female bodybuilder images to kind of flesh out the designs, the physical structure of Diablo. Asmodan. Here's a cool fun fact about this Asmodan cinematic in 3D. Asmodan's ass was so big that it couldn't fit it into the mesh of the actual ground mesh, so that you're looking at a very dramatic top-down view of Asmodan, but in reality, his ass was completely clipping through the back of the actual model, which is kind of funny. Just watch the making of Asmodan cinematic and you'll be able to see. It's kind of funny. I'm going to stop here on the armor designs. It just gets better as it goes along, but of course I can't make this video 6 hours long. That's the problem. There's so much amazing content to cover, but I just don't have enough time. Here's my message, and it's a personal one from me to Blizzard. Blizzard's gone through a lot. They're a huge company. They have dealt with huge amounts of fame. And here's the thing that happens. This is what people do. We tend to dehumanize wealth and power. We tend to deify wealth and power. We tend to look at a company like Blizzard and go, they've gone all corrupt. Yes, absolutely. They've had a change of management. The Activision thing is happening, and they have been derailed from their vision. But that doesn't take away from something extremely important to me. The heart and soul and design and the time and the effort and the sacrifice, everything that's gone into making these Blizzard games resonate in these beautiful designs. You don't get to a place like this with a company unless you put every iota of your heart and soul into everything that you do. They set the bar and keep trying year after year to surpass it. They're basically trying to overcome their own great accomplishments. And despite the ups and downs that Blizzard might experience with different games, depending on the situation, nothing takes away from the fact that they are the founders of a genre of art that continues to influence artists to this day. And it's for that very reason that I will be very forgiving and very patient with Blizzard as they work out all of the kinks of their different innovations and the different paths that they take in their artwork, because I have a lot of love for the artists and I have a lot of love for the effort and the incredible memories and experiences that they have created for their players. So my love goes out to every bloody one of you at Blizzard and your absolutely gorgeous work. And thank you for being a huge influence to everybody out there. You literally have birthed a generation of video game artists, and I can't thank you enough for that. So with that said, hopefully you enjoyed today's book review and this little retrospective into Diablo 3 before we launch ourselves into Diablo 4. And of course, I love you all with all my heart, and I'll see you soon. Take care.